Your salary is the cage disguised as security? You wake up, check your bank account, and feel that familiar rush of relief. Your paycheck landed. You're safe. You're secure. But here's what nobody tells you. That exact feeling of security is precisely what keeps you poor. The wealthy don't feel that relief because they stopped trading hours for money decades ago. While you're celebrating another deposit, they're sleeping because their money works while they do. This isn't about grinding harder or side hustles. This is about understanding why the entire structure of employment is mathematically designed to prevent wealth accumulation. Your paycheck feels like proof you're winning. Every 2 weeks, that deposit hits, and your nervous system relaxes. You've earned it. You deserve it. But this feeling is a psychological trap. The moment you become dependent on that regular income, you've surrendered control over your financial future. Consider this: a CEO making $300,000 a year can lose their job tomorrow. But they typically have assets, investments, and networks that generate income independently. A mid-level manager making $120,000 a year faces the same termination risk, but has zero passive income streams. The paycheck creates the illusion of security while actually increasing your fragility. You're not building wealth. You're building a lifestyle that requires your continuous presence. Every raise feels like progress, but it's just a golden handcuff getting tighter. The more you earn, the more you spend, and the more trapped you become. Financial security isn't a big number in your account. It's the ability to not work and still be fine. Here's the brutal math. You have 24 hours a day. You sleep 8. You work 9 including commute. You eat, shower, exercise another 3. That leaves 4 hours of free time. That's your life. Now, a millionaire with passive income has the same 24 hours, but a completely different equation. Their money is working those 9 hours while they sleep. A plumber charges $80 an hour. He can work maybe 10 hours a day before burnout destroys his health. That's $800 maximum per day. A software developer sells one application to 5,000 people at $20. That's $100,000 from 40 hours of work. The ceiling on your earnings is your physical presence. No matter how valuable you are, you cannot multiply your hours. A surgeon making $500,000 a year still needs to be in the operating room. A CEO making $2 million must attend meetings. But a person with invested capital earns money in their sleep, in traffic, during vacation. This is why millionaires stop trading time for money as fast as possible. Your job doesn't build wealth. It prevents it. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Einstein supposedly said so, and it's genuinely true. A 25-year-old invests $5,000 in the stock market. By 65, assuming 7% annual returns, that $5,000 becomes just over $100,000. They did nothing after that first investment. But a 35-year-old with the same investment horizon only reaches about $63,000. That 10-year head start created nearly $40,000 in additional wealth. For millionaires, this is the game. They started investing early and let mathematics do the work. For employees, raises are consumed immediately by lifestyle inflation. That $5,000 raise. New car payment, new apartment, nicer restaurants. The wealthy take the raise and invest the difference. They live like they earn less than they do. Meanwhile, you're working harder, earning more, and ending up just as broke because your expenses rose with your income. The richest people on earth aren't the highest earners. They're the people who started investing earliest and never stopped. Compound wealth grows silently in the background while you chase the next promotion. There's a concept called opportunity cost. Every hour you work at your job is an hour you cannot spend building something that could generate wealth. A software engineer working at a corporation writes code that generates billions in value. The corporation captures 95% of that value. The engineer captures 5% as salary. But here's the invisible cost. While writing code for the corporation, the engineer cannot write an application or build a product that could create wealth independently. A doctor treating patients earns $100,000 a year. Those patients generate perhaps $500,000 in revenue for the hospital system. The hospital captures 80%. The doctor receives 20%. The opportunity cost? That same doctor could have started a telemedicine platform, pharmaceutical company, or medical device startup. The hours spent at employment are hours stolen from your own wealth-building potential. This is why every wealthy entrepreneur describes their job as a distraction. Steve Jobs called it a cage. Elon Musk left a job to build Zip2. Naval Ravikant rejected traditional employment entirely. These weren't lazy decisions. They understood that the opportunity cost of employment compounds against you over decades. You're not just working for a salary. You're surrendering the potential to create something worth millions. This is where it gets practical. You don't need to quit your job to become wealthy. What you need is a different decision-making framework. First, stop confusing gross income with actual wealth-building capacity. You make $80,000 a year. That's not $80,000 available for building wealth. That's $80,000 from which you'll spend $75,000 on living expenses, taxes, and financial mistakes. That leaves $5,000 annually for actual wealth building. A wealthy person doesn't increase their gross income. They decrease their spending ratio. They live on $40,000 and invest $40,000. Same salary. Completely different outcome. Second, stop thinking of your job as your income source. Think of it as your capital generator. That job provides stability and consistent cash flow. Use it to generate capital. Invest that capital into assets, real estate, stocks, businesses, intellectual property. Your job becomes the fuel, not the destination. Third, build something while employed. A side project, a small business, a digital product. This serves two purposes. It generates additional income and it develops entrepreneurial skills. This is how most millionaires actually build wealth. Not through salary alone. Through leveraging stability to create additional income streams. Here's what separates the wealthy from everyone else inside a job. They think in terms of leverage and ownership. When a rich person takes a job, they negotiate equity, royalties, or revenue sharing. They think about how the job can give them ownership of something. Executives often receive stock options. Salespeople structure commissions based on lifetime customer value. Engineers at startups get equity stakes. A regular employee thinks, I'll work for money. A wealthy person thinks, I'll work for ownership. This is why Steve Jobs returned to Apple for $1 a year. Not because he needed money. Because he wanted ownership and control. This is why prominent investors serve on boards. Not for the board fee. For the information and influence. Inside a traditional job, you can still apply this thinking. Volunteer to lead projects that could become products. Build systems that could be licensed. Develop intellectual property that could be owned separately from your employment. Even if your employer captures the ownership initially, you develop the skills and portfolio to create independently later. The game isn't about being a perfect employee. The game is about gaining leverage, building skills, and creating ownership opportunities wherever you are. Some millionaires built their wealth entirely through traditional employment plus strategic side investments. Others left employment early. Both paths work. But both paths required thinking about ownership, not just income. Your salary isn't security. It's a transaction where you exchange time for money at a rate that caps your potential. The wealthy stopped making this trade long ago. They invest, they build, they own. But you don't need to make a dramatic escape from employment. You need a mindset shift. Stop seeing your job as your career. See it as your funding source. Stop celebrating raises as wins. Calculate what you'll actually invest from that raise. Stop thinking about work-life balance. Think about capital accumulation. Every decision, to take that job, to spend that money, to invest that capital, compounds for decades. The paycheck feels good today. But in 20 years, the person who invested the difference and never stopped is a millionaire. The person who spent every dollar is exactly where they started. Your wealth isn't determined by how much you earn. It's determined by how much you keep, invest, and let compound. That's not a motivational quote. That's mathematics. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. To keep you trading time for money instead of building wealth. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. The question now is whether you'll think like an employee or an owner. If you want more videos like this, subscribe and follow Wealth Logic. See you in the next one.